Across the U.S., more than 6,000 people have now died from coronavirus. Here's a look at the map and where the number of cases are coming from. New York has the highest number of coronavirus cases. Florida, which now ranks sixth in the highest number of cases across the country, joins more than 30 other states today issuing a safer at home order. Washington State is 10th. And in our state, there are now 6,500 cases, which is up from more than 500 on Wednesday, and of those, 262 people have died, about 4%. And it's important to note that nearly 80,000 people have tested negative for the virus. Governor Inslee is extending his stay home, stay healthy order to May 4th. And while he says our efforts to flatten the curve appear to be slowly working, it's not enough. Businesses will need to remain closed for at least another month, and people will be required to stay safe at home. Governor Inslee acknowledges that there will be long-term economic impacts with this decision, but it's a decision that he's calling morally necessary.
I know that we need to think about all of the ramifications of this order. They are a heavy weight on all of us, including myself.
The mandate has affected thousands across Washington state. According to the latest state report, there were more than 20,000 unemployment claims filed in the last week, more than 40,000 the week before. We're going to hear how small business employees are being affected by the order, coming up at 5:30.
Mimi, this morning the Washington National Guard is expected to jump into action and help deliver food to families and people in need here during the crisis. King 5's Kira Alfalin is live in Lakewood for us this morning. Kira, looks like the governor is going to be paying you a visit there at that location too.
Yeah, good morning. So we're live here outside of the Norrish-Pierce County warehouse where the National Guard is expected to be this morning preparing meals for delivery. And as you said, Governor Jay Inslee expected to be here as well to support the efforts to bring these meals to the families who really could use this right now, as you can imagine. So the National Guard already has been at work in different communities across the state already, in Edgewood, Wenatchee, and also Issaquah. We want to show you some of those photos now. They've been pretty busy at work helping out at those facilities. These are some of the food banks that are providing critical support to families impacted by this pandemic in King, Pierce, and Chelan counties. Guardsmen will also be sent to Franklin and Walla Walla counties in eastern Washington to help out there. These pictures were posted yesterday on the Washington National Guard Facebook page, just flooded with comments of gratitude thanking these soldiers for their efforts. So again, the National Guard expected to be here at 8:30 this morning. Governor Jay Inslee expected to join them. As you can imagine, these soldiers are really just filling a critical staffing shortage right now. As you can imagine, the need for food really increasing across the area. For now, I'm live here in Lakewood. Kira Alfalin, King 5 News.
All right, Kira, thank you. King County now plans to move hundreds of homeless people from shelters into a local hotel to try and stop the spread of the coronavirus. The county will move about 400 homeless currently staying in shelters to one of 3 hotels, one in downtown Bellevue, one near SeaTac Airport, and one in Renton. The hotels will not be open to any other guests. Me?
Life Care Center in Kirkland, where 37 people died of coronavirus, is now facing fines and could lose its Medicare contract. This comes after a federal investigation that claims patients and staff were put in immediate jeopardy. King 5's Sebastian Robertson tells us what's next.
That's Russ Rapp in the distance. He's loading his late mother's personal belongings into his pickup truck. Loretta Rapp was a patient at Life Care Center of Kirkland, and according to her family, she contracted the coronavirus and died.
It's tough that she spent the last days in isolation at Providence. Couldn't even see her or anything, so that was tough.
A long-term care facility caught in the middle of a pandemic that now the federal government is saying didn't do enough to stop the spread of the virus. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and the state's Department of Social and Health Services releasing its findings of a survey conducted on March 16th, claiming in a report that there was, quote, no evidence the facility recognized all possible systemic risks and concerns, adding the facility failed to quickly identify and manage sick residents, saying they continued to admit new patients as recently as February, quote, placing these residents at risk for infection and death. Rapp's mother was one of those patients.
The last thing I told her was, chins up. I'll bring your laundry back as soon as possible. And that's the last I had to say to her. I didn't know, What are you going to do?
The Life Care Center is still operating. They have until September to make the necessary changes, or they could be fined as much as $600,000 and lose both Medicare and Medicaid funding.
Since she passed, I've kind of closed the door on all this stuff here.
The end of Rap's story. But for the Life Care Center, their story continues to evolve. We did hear from the Life Centers of Kirkland this afternoon. They say that they're working closely with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, and that they've even made some of the requested changes, but say they do plan to appeal other findings. They wouldn't go into specifics and say they won't be publicly. In Seattle, Sebastian Robertson, King 5 News.
Nationwide, more than 400 nursing homes have patients with coronavirus, and Manhattan's Mary Manning Walsh home in New York City, more than 200 residents are infected. The American Healthcare Association says it would not encourage people to move their loved ones, but some families are choosing to reunite at home.
It just seems intuitive that the chance of the virus getting in is vastly lower here.
John Barras decided to bring his 85-year-old mother home. Joan had been living in an assisted living center, but is now at home with her son, who hired a health aide. John started a Facebook group to help other families facing similar decisions.
Maybe loans to try and keep paychecks flowing in small businesses across the country will begin, and the White House has new advice for anyone living near a hot spot in our country. Tracy Potts has the latest from Washington.
Overnight, we learned that in the next few days, the White House will follow California and New York City and issue new guidance to Americans in coronavirus hotspots. Cover your face, wear a mask.
But don't get a false sense of security that that mask is protecting you exclusively from getting infected.
This as Washington begins to offer $350 billion in small business loans today.
These loans are up to 100% forgivable as long as employers keep paying their workers. Got to take care of your workers.
Workers filed a record 10 million jobless claims in the last 2 weeks. Healthcare workers still on the job are stressed.
This is too much. I don't know how much longer I could do this.
Protective gear and equipment in some places nearly gone.
I need gowns and I need face shields, and I needed them a week ago.
We have about 6 days of ventilators in our stockpile.
President Trump is skeptical.
Hospitals have 3 ventilators, big hospitals, and they get by with it. And now they want thousands. I mean, they want thousands of ventilators. You call up a governor and they'll say, sir, could you send us 40,000 ventilators? Nobody has ever heard of a thing like this.
Direct payments to hospitals also start today to cover the cost of treating the uninsured. And Democrats are pushing the president to use the Defense Production Act to force more companies to produce protective gear. Tracy Potts, NBC News.
Well, the city of Wuhan, China, the original epicenter of the outbreak, is looking to get back to normal as the number of cases have started to drop. They're now leaning on volunteers for help. The biggest nonprofit civil organization in China is focused on disinfecting places like hospitals and schools. Wuhan has started to relax its lockdown restrictions and will allow people to leave the city April 8th. Mimi?
Drones could soon help combat the spread of coronavirus in Australia. An Australian company did a test run spraying water, mimicking disinfectant over sealed-off public gym equipment. The drones also have speakers that could be used for crowd control. Australia has more than 5,300 cases of coronavirus and has confirmed 28 deaths from the virus.